Welcome to day 3. How do you get exactly what you want? I'm here to share with you a very simple way to get exactly what you want and how I do it in my life and how I suggest my clients do it, and the results you may have seen, the results my clients are getting are out of this world. I had one client 2 weeks, the other ones for a little bit longer, and the results that they're having over and over and over repeated, like things are cascading in their lives and becoming completely unbelievable. So how this is done? First of all, we do the homework. That's the main thing. You clear your space, you know your self-worth, you understand your self-confidence, you know exactly where you're going. Then you draw a line. So we'll be drawing a line today between what was and what is and what's happening into the future. So I like to imagine it as a line, as a kind of like a timeline for us, and we're here. And we're here on this timeline. And here we are deciding today, this is it. This is it. I'm starting to work on myself. And this is the point in my life where I'm taking charge and taking responsibility for myself. And that moment is today. From now on, everything that happens in the future, this is basically, I like to think about it as a new life. An old life is what happened before this point, new life is after. So this is a really significant point because we'll be almost referring to it as before and after, because you will see your life changing significantly after this point. What happens sometimes, people bring themselves to the point of today and they go, okay, fine, my life from now on is changing. And then later on today, tomorrow, in a week's time, they see stuff that's undesirable. So things will happen that might not necessarily seem like what we want is happening. What we want is showing up in our lives. And I want you to understand this point first before we move on to how we get this done, because this is a very important part. If it's not done correctly, you continuously will keep unplugging yourself from what can bring you the true reflection of what you want. So if at any point in the past you thought negative thoughts, you were not very kind to yourself or other people, you were continuously on repeat going through habits that are not serving you, if you were doing anything that wasn't quite bringing the most positive result, then that happened in the past on that timeline. Now we're in this point, so whatever happened before would have to manifest at some point on this timeline. So if you thought to yourself something last week that was negative about money or someone else or a relationship, that thought created emotions that have to show up on your timeline. So if you imagine you standing here saying, I'm taking responsibility from now on, this is, my before and after, this is it. So you're sitting in this point of now. The things that happened previously will still create a ripple effect into your reality now. So what will happen is you may see things that are undesirable or may prove to be difficult on your timeline still. And that's old life. That's old life reflecting back into the new life. And what our job in this is to understand what happened before doesn't define what happens now. It's no longer like this. We're no longer following the cycle that we followed before. So what happened before may show up at some point in your life still. That's okay. When it shows up by being a bill that you didn't accept, eating a habit that you had before, or, where you said you wouldn't do it again, that may still happen. But when it happens, your main job is to stop. You need to stop yourself in that moment as soon as you can and think to yourself, okay, this is old life. This is old life. So before all the thoughts come, because before the thoughts fuel feelings, before it all pours out into the world, your job is to stop. Literally think, okay, this is my old life. This is not new. This is not what you create. So in this moment, you have a chance to do things differently. And it's your job. If you want to change your life, this is your job to catch yourself in that moment and go, okay, this is not me anymore. I'm moving on. I'm going to do something nice. I'm going to do something I enjoy. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to do anything else that changes my mindset in that moment. So it doesn't take me back. It doesn't take me back and back and back. I'm looking forward. I'm moving forward. I know where I'm going. That's my pattern now. So it's easy to say, a little bit harder to implement. But if you imagine a massive train leaving a station, and that's your emotions in that moment, it is so much easier to stop that train before it gathers speed. The moment this train gathers speed, which will be your emotions getting higher and higher and your thinking gets higher and higher, everything just gets fueled up by all sorts of strong emotions inside, it's very hard to stop then. and then we say things and do things that we will regret later on. But if you can catch it about the very beginning of the journey of the train and stop it there and change the tracks and move on and go and do something that you enjoy, the difference is going to be spectacular. So now we understand that. That's our first step for today. So we understand the timeline and we understand exactly how it happens. So from now on today, we're making this the beautiful pillar of our life and we're moving on from here. If we see anything going forward, we're going to disregard it, take it as old life as much as we can, distract ourselves with something that we enjoy, something that's good, and we move on. And we're moving on towards a goal. And that's what is very, very important in this journey. If you don't know where you're going to get there. So basically what you need to do is just think about what do you want, but nothing small, something that's manageable, something that's not super small, but not huge just yet, because I want to build you up to the big ones. The way you want to live, the way you want to feel on a Monday morning, the way you want to have money. What is it in your life that you really want? So if, for example, you want money, you want this beautiful, juicy £5,000, let's say. It's great because everyone loves having more money. So this is a great example. So let's say you have this juicy £5,000 in your mind. And that is the goal you're striving for. Let's say this month, next month, this year. However, you have the goal and you've got your timeline. So now you know exactly where your timeline is taking you because you know exactly where you're going. But the first thing you're going to do is not ask the question how. Because people just literally instantly go, oh, I want this, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. So how? Oh no, so that can't be possible. This is not for you to decide. How is not your responsibility. All you have to do is follow the steps that I'll show you, and the how will become completely taken out of your hands and you will not have to worry about it at all. So we assume you want £5,000. By wanting that, you need to now decide, because money is resources, you need to now decide what is it that £5,000 will buy you. Think to yourself, what person am I going to be like, and what I'm going to say, how I'm going to think, how I'm going to behave, having the £5,000. Before you can have the £5,000 show up in your reality, in your 3D reality, right here, right now, when you can touch it, you first have to understand what kind of person is Monica, who has £5,000. What kind of person is Anna, who has £5,000? What type of person is Christine, who has £5,000? Ideally, you write it down, or you at least give it enough thought to create a picture in your mind of who this person is. I like to write it down because it kind of journaling is always really useful and a lot of things come through. But also it's really nice. There's some magic that happens when you put pen to paper. And I don't find it the same when I type on the computer. So I really, really urge you to try it. Try to write it down and write literally who is the person that has £5,000. How do they behave? What are they thinking? What are they doing? How are they speaking? How are they behaving? How are they dealing with other people? How are they dealing with work? How are they dealing with spending money every day? Create a beautiful picture of the person that you are in that future who has the £5,000. And that will give you an overview of who that person is. And then the thing that happens afterwards is you need to get yourself and think to yourself, okay, this is the person. I can see what the person should be like. I now need to embody that. So now I need to become the person who I need to be in order to get what I want, because that's the gap that bridges where you are now, where you are going. So if you can, just for a second, implement that, once you know exactly what it is, if you can implement it, then you can take it further. If you can implement that into your life, that takes you exactly to the goal where you want to be. Because for something to manifest and collapse from the quantum field is, if you imagine the £5,000 is floating, we will do a quantum physics workshop on this, so don't worry. But if you imagine that £5,000 is floating somewhere in a superposition, it's somewhere there in the universe, it needs to collapse and it needs to come down onto your wavelength. But in order to do that, you need to observe it. And by observing it, you know what you want. And this has been proven by quantum physics. This is like nothing crazy that I'm telling you right now. So basically what you're doing is you're observing the £5,000 and then you becoming the person who is the person that has the £5,000, and all of it bridges the gap between where you are and where you're going. And this is applicable to everything. And this is the work I do with my clients on one-to-one basis. We go right deep into those teachings and I show them exactly how to do this, and we do this in group courses. This is something that is huge, and if you can put that in practice, then you will make massive strides. And I was trying to explain to someone like what's the differences between, working on your own and working in a group and working with like a mentor one-to-one. And you can achieve all those things on your own. You don't need a mentor, a coach. You don't need someone to hold your hand. You can do it on your own. It just takes longer. If you're not concerned by the time and you just want to achieve those things, then you can absolutely achieve that on your own. There's nothing stopping you. If you want to speed that up, then you attend group courses and you come to me and say, actually, I want this super fast. I want to do this super fast and I want to make quantum leaps like you make quantum leaps. I want to be there. I want to be in the action. And that's when I say to you, we'll do one-to-one mentoring. We'll get you there fast. And that is the difference how we get there, but you don't need it. You can absolutely use those techniques and it will take you exactly where you need to be. But you need to have a goal, understand that whatever from now on happens on your timeline, it is a ripple effect from before. So you need to accept it and you move on. Because the person who has £5,000 extra at the end of this line is not going to be worried about going shopping and spending £100 on food shop. That same person is not going to be worried when they have to pay a little bit extra on the bill. They're not going to be worried if their child goes on an extra trip and they have to give them extra money. That's not going to be a problem because that person has the extra money. So we have to embody that in order to this to come down from the quantum field into our lives. And that's basically how it works. And this is exactly how you get exactly what you want. There is a little bit of a side note to this. When you plant a seed in a fertile soil, put it in there, push it in, cover it up. You don't then go every single day checking whether that seed is growing. You don't come in and dig it up and go, oh, it's not growing yet. And then you cover it up again, come back next day, dig it up, go, oh, actually, it's not growing yet. That yields no results. It will never grow because you keep digging it up the whole time. So what you need to do is you need to have faith. You need to have faith in order to be able to achieve any of this. You have to believe. And that is the key to all of this. You have to believe you can have it. And you believe that you already becoming the person who has it. And that's the only way you can have it. Without the belief, without the faith, it's nothing. It's worthless. So when you have this seed in your plant pot, you believe and you trust and you have faith that it will grow and become something beautiful. It will bloom eventually as a flower. So what do? You don't just abandon it. You don't just put it in that pot and shove it in a dark corner and forget about it. You water it every day. You put it in the sunshine. You only feed it the right stuff. And you don't dig it up. And it's the same with the things we're trying to achieve. You don't think to yourself, I have £5,000. And then every minute of every day you go, well, this is not possible. But this is wrong. And look at the bill that I had. And oh my goodness, my child wants to go on the trip and I don't have the money for it. And I have to spend extra money on shopping and all of those things. That's digging the seed up. Oh, well, it hasn't happened yet. And the time comes into play. I haven't got it yet. That's how you dig in the seed up every single time. And it will never grow. If you feed it the right thing, you give it the nourishment, you give it the positive thoughts, you do the homework that I gave you, you know your self-worth and you know you're worthy of the amazing things you can have. Feed it the right company and the things you surround yourself with. It's all working in your favor then. And then you not constantly keep digging it up. You do some work on yourself. Every day you think positive thoughts, everything, you become closer and closer to the person that has the goal, that has the £5,000, that has the amazing house. You become that person every single day. And one day, without you even knowing, the world will deliver you the best possible way of having that thing. Whether you win it, someone gifts it to you, you earn it on extra job, you find it, you will be shown this miracle and it collapses from the quantum field straight onto your timeline. And you sit there and think, in a million years, I would have never imagined it happening this way. Because how? It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility, the only responsibility you have is to believe, know where you're going, control your mind, control your thoughts, look at your environment, believe in yourself and believe in what you can have. And that's your only job in here. And that is the only way you're going to achieve exactly what you want. But you have to believe it. So then you have this beautiful seed that's then blooming. And at the end, you've got the beautiful flower. That is the thing that you always wanted. And this applies to everything. You cannot take one part out of it. If you take one of these parts that I've shared with you out, this will not work. All of them are necessary for you to be able to achieve what you want. And lots of people get discouraged by time. And I can see now, in the past, I didn't understand when people say, oh, enjoy the process. And I thought, literally, like, what is this? Yeah, I'm literally not wanting to wait. How am I supposed to enjoy this process? And then I understood, if you enjoy the process, you actually are not willing to give up the process. And the process is the thing that's going to give you the results. So you need to be able to stay plugged in to this energy, stay plugged into this work, stay plugged into yourself, stay plugged into what you want to achieve at the end of the line. I would recommend you work on one thing at a time, because when you have a lot of things, they can get messy, especially at the beginning. Later on, you can absolutely juggle a few things that you really want, and it's easy. At the very beginning of the journey, it's quite hard to be able to concentrate the energy in different directions, and because you're being pulled a little bit. You don't believe me, just try it. Just try it for yourself, but don't do it just haphazard. If you're going to do it well, and do it 100%, because even 0.1% doubt does not yield result. So if you're playing to win, go and play to win. But if you're playing not to lose, it's not going to bring you the results. And we'll talk about that in another video. But that is literally how you get exactly what you want. And I manifested very many things in my life, from money to my husband, honestly, my cars over the years, my jobs. Yeah, I manifested so many things doing it. And I actually manifested loads of them without actually knowing the process. And then when I started dissecting it, I thought, oh my goodness, there was a process to this. And then I started talking to other people and researching other things and learning other things. And it turned out that actually I have the pattern. This is it, and this is working. And then I was able to share with my clients, and they were absolutely astonished how quickly things can work. Things will work faster if you really believe. If you really believe, then the time collapses and things happen so fast, so fast. Things that never moved for years will all of a sudden collapse. So a friend was telling me about the story. He needed an amazing surgeon to do his operation, and he wasn't willing to, pay so much extra money for the person. And he just decided that that's what's going to happen. And he followed the process, and he met this surgeon at the party. He went to a party where he met the surgeon, and that surgeon said, I'll do it for you, and I'll do it for the cost. This, exactly what the person had in mind. And how the person, the guy who was leaving to go to that party, he would have never thought, oh, I'm going to this party because that's where I'm going to meet my surgeon. He would have never considered that. He would have never believed it. He would have never thought about it. But it happened, because the world takes the line of least resistance, but we are not able to see the whole picture. But the source, the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, they have the whole picture. And they can connect the dots so much better than we can. All our job is to believe, know what you want, you know where you're going, you become that person now, and you believe. If you need any help with any of this work, let me know. I have 2 more spaces open for private one-to-one coaching, and I hope to see you here next week. Good luck. I'm sending you lots of love, and take care.